Okay, so we have the first project due tonight. It's worth taking a moment to look at the grading rubric for it. So I click on Projects, Project 1, P1, and there should be a View Rubric. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, you need to be able to compile it. You need to be able to run it. This one a lot of people don't get because of not looking at the rubric. At the top of your program, add a comment, put your name and the project number. So don't forget to do that. This is another one that gets people, is if you're going in there and making lots of corrections, it's likely that the formatting gets messed up. And before you submit it, you should clean up the formatting. By formatting, I mean that branches of if statements are indented, inside of loops are indented, code inside of the curly braces of the main function are indented. A lot of that, if you've got a programmer's editor, a lot of that can be done for you automatically in Vim. Let me go ahead and concoct an example here. Let me go up and let's see. Let's look at. Oh, I know. A good one would be. This code that I used in lab. All right, let's take a look at that. All right, so this one's currently already formatted. Note that everything between the curly braces is indented consistently. When I hit something like an if statement, the statement or statements that are part of the truth of that, or false if you're using an else, are indented. So this is all just a nod towards readability, and let me see if I can mess up the formatting here. Oops, I didn't do it right. Hang on. Alright, so now the formatting's messed up, at least in part of this program. Looks like the stuff up there I didn't really. Let me script a couple of those. The command for formatting in Vim is the equal sign, and it's normally followed by a direction. So for instance, if I'm right here, J goes down. If I hit the equal sign and then I hit J, that's going to fix the line I'm on, plus J would take me down, plus the movement that I did. So the way to easily ensure that your entire program is formatted correctly is go up to the very first, the very first line in the file. Then if I hit the equal sign, all I need is a command that takes me to the bottom of the file, right? And the effect is to format the entire file. So that kind of the recipe given here is GG equals G. Two lowercase g's, no matter where you are in the program, two lowercase g's takes you to the top of the file. And then the equal sign means that you want to get the program formatted, and an uppercase G is the command that takes you to the bottom of the file. Meaning that normally, if I'm not formatting, if I'm just moving around, if I want to get to the bottom of the file, if I hit an uppercase G, it immediately takes me there. All right, so that's the recipe you need to follow. Yes?
Can you just repeat that one more time?
Which?
You go to the top, how to make everything like.
Oh, from the so it's these four keystrokes right here. GG takes you to the top, and then equals says I want to do some formatting of code, and then you give it a direction, a movement, if you will, and the uppercase G moves you from your current location to the bottom of the file.
Got it.
So that takes you from the top to the bottom formatting. It also can reveal excuse me, errors in your code. So for instance, this is, if you were to look at some dry syntactic definition of the language, you would see something like if condition statement, right? And they'd say that is the format for an if statement. And then you would also is information that anywhere in the language you can put a single statement. You can also put curly braces in a bunch of statements. So let me erase that. Let me get back to where I was. Anywhere I can put a statement, I can put curly braces in a bunch of statements. Now, I would say this isn't very useful, but I could do this. I could, here's a statement on line 7. There, I could put curly braces and put a bunch of statements, meaning, I don't know, a bunch includes one. So I could leave it like that. I could add more cout statements. What's the use of it? Not a lot of use right here. I'm just letting you know that it would compile and run just fine if you did that. Where it does become useful is where I was giving you that dry definition of an if statement. If this condition is true, then only this single statement is run. And a common error is people will do this, thinking, okay, if condition is true, I'm going to run lines 15 and 16, right? Well, that isn't how an if statement works. An if statement only operates on a single statement if it's true. And our eyes are deceiving to us here, and if you get your code formatted, like using the GG equal G, it can give you clues as to where you have bugs in your program. So let me do it, GG equals G. Note that line 16 was outdented to be at the same level as the if statement. So that's a visual cue that, hey, line 16 isn't actually part of that if statement. Can you do that? Can I make both? Yes, because anywhere I can put a single statement, I can put curly braces and a number of statements. So I would do something like that. Now, both lines 16 and 17 are part of what gets run if condition is true. Okay. So half the reason was to provide that information. The other half was to give you another reason for formatting your code, is that it helps you visually eyeball where there might be inconsistencies in your program. Any questions on that? Okay. There's a yes.
What were we supposed to do our project? Was it supposed to be my.cpp?
Oh, what you name it?
Yeah.
You know, there's no, it doesn't matter. A lot of people call it project1.cpp. A few extra points if you call it Todd.cpp. Just kidding. Maybe not just a few. I mean, all of them, right? You get all the points if you name it that. Yeah, so call it whatever you want. Any other questions? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So another thing with this Blackboard assignment submission thing is that you can submit as many times as you like, and when the grader grades it, you click a button saying that you just want the most recent submission. And so if you've submitted it 15 times, basically the most recent one you submitted is what gets graded. The other ones are totally ignored and never looked at. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, let's see. Did I cover everything on that grading rubric?
Do you get like, I did part of the extra credit, but I can't figure out the second part. You get like partial extra credit, or it has to be
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the grader will give you partial credits. There are like a couple different things in there. Is that right?
yeah, like
Yeah, I think the grader will give. Don't quote me on it. I think you'll get partial credit. All right, so formatting, make sure it's formatted. Did you generate the random number correctly? Are you asking? These are just like individual things. If your code's only halfway working, this enables you to get partial credit for certain things that are working. So are you prompting the user for a guess and taking that in via CN? Are you doing a comparison, comparing the random number to the player's guess? Are you telling the player whether or not their guess was correct? Okay, so that's what the grader is going to use to assess your program. All right. So with that takes us to also don't get correct format for the comment with your name and project number. There's no, I'm not hung up. Let me take a step back. My experience when I didn't take a lot of programming classes, but the ones I took, the instructors were really hung up on that you do it exactly this way and you do it exactly that way, and you need to have a lot of comments. You got to tell me what every function does, and whenever you have a bit of an algorithm, you got to explain with comments what that algorithm does, and blah blah blah. And to me, that's just being anal, and I don't care about any of that crap. All right. Here's my rationale. If you think you're going to come back to it 3 months later and not understand it, put a little comment there, right? If it's complex enough that you would need reminding or for the reader. And as far as your name and project number, really, I'm not hung up on that specifically. It's a way to get me to get you to exercise another part of the language, because most people don't use comments at all. So at least I'm getting you to use some comments. I mean, that's about as deep as it goes for me. So, you could misspell your name and I won't be any the wiser, and you could have a big joke on my expense. So do whatever you want for that comment. Put a name and put a number that looks like 1. ASCII 1, that's right. You put some sort of complex math formula that evaluates to 1. That'll impress me. All right, so that's that. Okay, that takes us to today's activity. And today's activity is under assignments. Assignment 8, using loops. Again, the projects are expected to be individual efforts. A lot of these in-class assignments, I encourage you to get together with other folks and do them together. So that's, in this case, I'm encouraging you to do that. If you're kind of a maverick and like going it alone, that's fine as well. We've talked about loops on Wednesday. Excuse me. And so this is an assignment that has you using loops. Now there are 3 types of tasks that I have here. 1, ask the user how many times they want the computer to print hi. How many times do you want me to print hi? And I say 5. And then you print hi that many times. The second one, do a countdown from 10 to 1. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, liftoff. Now you could hard code that with a 1 cout statement and a bunch of end lines. No, I want you to use a loop, right? You print out a number, you loop, you print out the next number, decrementing down till you get to 1, and then essentially print liftoff at the last iteration or right at the end after the loop. And the third one, ask the user for a name. So give me a name, Todd. Give me a name, Mark. Give me a name, Betty. Give me a name, Barney. Bam, the loop ends. Okay. So all 3 of those tasks require loops. What I'm asking you to do is to do all 3 using all 3 loops. You have a while loop, a do while loop, and a for loop. The for loop, again, is what throws people, but it can be done the same way as the other 2, the while and the do while. And so I've provided a sample structure here. Put them all in a single .cpp file. Don't create 3 or 9 different programs, just one program. And the 3 loops for printing high, the 3 loops for the countdown, and the 3 loops for waiting until they enter Barney. Note this tip in red. It's very common doing this that your process is going to run away and it's going to be in an infinite loop. Use Control-C to break out of that. That'll interrupt the program and bring your prompt back. And I think that's about all I have to say. Yeah.
Sorry, can you explain a do-while loop? Just like reason.
Yeah, I'll re-summarize it real quick. Vim while. I'll give you both the while and the do-while version. While x is less than 10. How about this? Int x equals 0. Let me call it counter. Get away from these. Cout. My number is counter. Now I'm going to do a quick test of that. Ooh, I got a bug. What's my bug? I had to use Control-C, yeah. What's my bug?
You don't ever change counter.
I never change counter. Remember, there are 3 parts. The initialization, here I'm initializing the variable. By the way, I don't have to do the declaration and initialization. I could have said in counter here. So the initialization, the condition, and the change of state. Right? All 3 of those loops have all 3 of these components. Do while, the initialization, do while counter is less than 10. And inside here, I'm just going to copy and paste. Come over here, run it. Yeah, let me use 5. 5. 5. And let me print a little message. Cout the while loop. And then here I will say the do while loop. Let me run it. Oops. There we go. The while loop, 0 through 4. The do while loop, 0 through 4. Let me bring the code front and center so you can see it all in one place. There we go. Any other questions? All right, go ahead and I encourage you again, get together with someone or several someones and have a go at the assignment.